Hello everyone, this is your host, Gabriel Garcia, otherwise known as the Wandering Quill and the Wandering Scribe, and welcome back to another Comics Impressions video. Now, in this episode, I'll be reviewing Chapters 1 and Chapters 2 of The First Americans by Critical Entertainment. Chapter 1 being The Bering Strait, and Chapter 2 being The Wolf Pack. Now, what is The First Americans? At the end of the Ice Age, and on the brink of starvation, a brave tribe of Paleo-Indians journey from Siberia to North America to hunt an elusive herd of mammoths. When they fail to hunt down the beast, the tribe must struggle through unexplored lands to survive or face becoming extinct. Now, what I really love about both Chapters 1 and Chapters 2 is that there is absolutely no form of dialogue whatsoever. Now, to give you an idea, here's a panel. There's no dialogue whatsoever between the characters, and that plays into the story's strengths because, remember, these characters are Paleo-Indians. We have no idea what languages they may have spoken or would have spoken. So it allows the reader to imagine the dialogue that is happening. And what this really reminds me of, truly, is shows like Primal by Genny Tarkovsky, as well as 10,000 BC. And the artwork itself, I really have to give credit to the artists. And I really enjoy the world building, especially in Chapter 1, The Bering Strait, because it really gives you a sense of the harshness of, the Ice Age world. And it's brutal, it's graphic. It pretty much tells you this was a period in human history where the chances of survival were very, very slim. You had to be the dominant species or face extinction. And what I really enjoy about this part, in Chapter 1, we kind of get a sense that this character is the main character. Now, for me, when I read this story, I gave him the character name of Spear, as an homage to the character in Primal. And then his sidekick and companion is a wolf, which we can suspect could be a prehistoric dire wolf during this time, giving him the name, or her the name, of Ghost. And I really love how the artists, bring the other megafauna to life. So you have the ancestor to the armadillo. You have the giant megafauna, which is the giant ground sloth, as well as these creatures, whose name escapes me, but they are in the yak family. So I very much appreciate that. And what I really love is just the style of characters, in sense, what I should say is the artwork. It shifts between like the dark blue, black, and then you get to the warm colors, which give off a sense of hope, saying, okay, we can probably survive, we can probably hunt these animals. But this is a very, very dangerous world, as I said before. And lo and behold, in Chapter 1, the main character faces off against a saber-toothed tiger, or Smilodon. And what I actually really like is that they gave the color palette of almost like a snow leopard, which I greatly appreciate. In fact, if you look at its face, and especially around the eyes and the nose and the back, it has the color palette and the fur tone of a snow leopard. So that is really, really good. But yes, this is an incredible first chapter, and actually the very, very first dialogue that we get from one of the characters, she says, we go east. That is the first piece of dialogue we have. And, you know, the setting takes place in Alaska, America, and, you know, you have the hunter just following the mammoths, trying to keep up with them and stay close to them. And then we get into the First Americans, Chapter 2, the Wolf Pack. This is now getting more and more serious. And we actually have a legend in the second book, which gives us an idea of the world of where they are right now. We have the Mammoths. We have the Clovis Point, the Bering Strait with the present coastline, the Arctic Circle, and glaciers. And we are introduced to this character. Well, she was introduced in the previous book, which I am going to assume is like the spiritual leader or the shaman. She is the only one that speaks. And ultimately, she is leading a group of her people to, you know, travel, to hunt and follow the mammoths. And it's a very, very terrifying ordeal. Because after all, this world is very, very unknown. And so we have the main character, or one of the characters now, Spear, with his partner, Ghost, tracking and hunting down animals. And pretty much, you know, in Chapter 2, it's pretty much just Spear just trying to understand the new megafauna that lives in this area, from the giant short-faced bear to other creatures. And this shaman, she is leading her people more and more into the unknown, trying to survive. And they actually come across the dead carcass of the Smilodon that the main character killed in the first chapter. And from here, you know, it goes back to the main character, which now upon reading this a second time, it now feels like there are two stories. So you have Spear and Ghost hunting, trying to survive, whereas the shaman, she's trying to lead her people to follow the mammoths. But they ultimately have the same goal. They want to find the mammoths, to track them, to find out where they're going. Because mammoths and other megafauna were the main food source for Paleo-Indians, among many other things. And again, the artwork, which I forgot to mention in the previous book, by Tad Galusha, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, is just so breathtaking. This feels like a documentary in book form, which I think that may have been the intention overall. So now we are in Canada, or what is modern day Canada, with Spear and Fang. It's not Spear and Fang, Spear and Ghost. And yeah, it's just pretty much their ordeal, just trying to survive. But then we get to the villains in Chapter 2. Now remember, Chapter 2 is entitled The Wolf Pack. We are introduced to 3 white wolves, possibly dire wolves. And I love how each of them have like their own personality. I really love that when authors can give animals personality. It's not like in a fantasy setting where, of course, you know, they are talking as if they were humans, but just from appearances and personality and temperament, they give their own personality. And we see that. We see the hunter and his wolf trying to fight against these 3 white wolves, and it's a very, very dangerous battle. It's life or death. And these wolves are smart, which gives the impression that they fought against humans before. So ultimately, the battle's going south, which leads Ghost and Spear to just say, we gotta get out of here. We can't, you know, fight these guys anymore. We gotta get to open ground. And the leader, which I will call him One-Eye tracks Spear and Ghost to a clearing. And his 2 other compatriots show up as well. And the battle resumes, and it's very, very bloody. And Spear is trying to show, okay, we're going to fight, we're going to kill these guys, and it's pretty much do or die. He knows he's going to die here, or thinks going to die. But ultimately, it comes to like this understanding between, One Eye and his brothers against these new hunters. There's this moment of respect between, One Eye and Spear, where they're pretty much realizing, okay, you're good, we'll leave you alone. Now, it's unclear of whether or not One Eye lives or die, but, it is up to interpretation. Same with Spear. Spear is pretty much gasping. He is in pain. And he's like, okay, we're done. This world is getting more and more dangerous as time goes on. And with that, that's how the second chapter ends. Now, I really do appreciate the commitment to not have any dialogue and allow the story itself to almost in a way give the dialogue. We know what's happening. We know what's possibly going through the characters' minds. And, it's a very, really great read. It's a very original one. It definitely has the intensity of this world. It shows that, in our prehistoric past, the Paleo-Indians had to go through a great deal to survive. And ultimately, Critical Entertainment has created two amazing pieces of fiction. Now, I don't know if there's any more in the series as of yet, but I wouldn't put it past them to continue this series because this series is really good. Now, in terms of like artwork, it's, really good. They really nail into what the characters look like historically, what they would have how they would have dressed, what they would have worn, what was their social structure like. So I gotta give that credit to the people behind the first Americans. I really appreciate that. And furthermore, I highly recommend this series to anyone who likes, the early caveman. I don't want to say caveman, but the early prehistoric movies where you have mankind trying to survive in the prehistoric world. And if you like Quest of Fire, which is another good example, if you love First Americans, 10,000 BC is another one, as well as Primal. In fact, if you love Primal and want to see that in book form, then definitely check out First Americans by Critical Entertainment. Now, regarding my review, easily this gets a 5 out of 5 for me. There's nothing I can see that would give it anything lower. I would definitely see this possibly getting maybe a 4 and at that most a 3 if you're not used to comics not having any dialogue and, the reader has to create the dialogue themselves. I can see that. But for me personally, this is an incredible work of fiction and I highly recommend checking it out. I will link it down below in the description of this video where to purchase issues 1 and 2 or chapters 1 and 2 from their website, as well as other links to follow them on their social media. So, until next time, my viewers and listeners, thank you for tuning in for another Comics Impressions video, and I will see you all in the next episode.